All right, our timer has. Hello, hello, Terrence. You're very prompt with your chat. Hello. Let me hit the stop on the timer, and we're back from lunch. And I just want to show you something. I'm working on producing the videos. I don't really know what goes into producing a video in terms of Camtasia. I'm using Camtasia to record the videos. Here's the where's the interface? I guess it's showing that as the interface. I can't get it to come up. But the progress bar, so when lunch started, I started producing the third video, and it's about 54%, 55% done. And I was kind of concerned that it wouldn't let me record while it was producing, but it appears to be allowing me to record. Here's the recording. That's the recording head that allows me to stop it and start it. So we're making pretty good progress with the videos. And then here's my YouTube page that I'm just setting up a playlist. AutoCAD 2019 Level 1 Introduction. So far I've got, I used tomorrow's date. Not sure why I did that. Who knows why I do what I do. But here's 5/15/19, so you can really zero in on what it is. AutoCAD 2019 Level 1, Day 1, Session 1. Then we've got 5/5/19 AutoCAD 2019 Level 1, Day 1, Session 2, and on and on and on. So this will be hopefully a convenience for you to be able to access this. I think I saw also, oh, you had a, oh, thanks, okay. I gotta be a little more cognizant of the chat window. So yeah, I may have started without audio. I try to be good about getting it turned on. There's a little blue light on the microphone. This microphone is a Samsung. Sorry if that just made a loud noise when I put it down. It's a Samsung Meteor microphone, and ironically, it's got a blue light like AutoCAD has a blue tint to an active grid button, blue tint to the ortho mode. Kind of a running theme in a lot of electronics and technology. So a couple more videos to produce, and then I'll upload them. They're roughly an hour and 15 minutes each. So if as you need them, it might be. It was on my end. Pretty okay. Yeah. Okay. Never know. Hopefully it'll be a convenience for you, so you can revisit these whenever you need to. If there's folks that you're working with, they can visit these videos and sort of get a pointer or two on how to use AutoCAD on a basic level. So before the break, I've still got a lot of stuff open here, but in the PowerPoint we talked about our advanced draw command, polyline and rectangle, advanced modify command, offset, fillet, chamfer, explode, and then got into the master bedroom drawing. And a couple more of those modify. Well, if I flip the page here, day 2, part 2, the measure commands are next. And before we do that, I want to just talk about some of these modify commands. I'll kind of backtrack in the book. Actually, not to backtrack. I'm on that page already. So on page 32, you've got commands like, I'll zoom in here. We've covered, pulling to the left here. We've got fillet and chamfer we've used, and explode we've used, and offset. So we've got most of these done. Some of the ones that we haven't covered yet are fairly familiar or fairly similar to like the move command. So I'll just bop back into the modify commands drawing for a second. Like, and now I don't currently have it open, so I have to open it. I'm going to maximize the view of my bedroom drawing, and then I'll open modify commands drawing. Which one do we use in class? I'm in a different folder. I'll say it. Documents, AutoCAD 2019 Level 1, modify commands, there it is. So I don't think I saved it. And I have a habit of not saving between sessions. If I restart it, we've done the erase, move and copy, extend and trim, offset, polyline and rectangle, chamfer and fillet, explode. These last few we haven't done yet. The rotate command is one that we'll use when we start to bring in our doors, there's actually a rotate built into the insert command when we insert the doors. But if you need to rotate something just because you need to, like sometimes you need to rotate text. If I want to rotate this text so it stands upright, I'll select my text, I'll select the rotate button, left click rotate, and again habitually moving the crosshairs into the drawing window to get the prompt. The prompt is just like the prompt with move, specify base point, and copy. So I'll left click like the bottom left corner of this text, left click, and I can move this, I can just rotate this. I'm just moving my mouse in sort of a rotary fashion, and I can rotate that. But I can also type in a rotational angle. Say I want to stand it up, I'll just type in 90 for 90 degrees, and it will rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. Left click object, left click rotate, left click base point, -90, enter. So I've rotated it back. Same thing with the door. I can select the door, select rotate, select the base point with my object snap, left click, and I'm going to rotate this 45 degrees. So that closes this, it makes this door horizontal. Basically, I just close the door. Left click door, left click rotate, left click my endpoint, and I don't have ortho on right now, so it's rotating very freely. If ortho were on, it would pause me every 90 degrees. Okay, so in this case I'll go -45, and I'm back. So the ability to rotate things, Control A, rotate, left click base point, 90. You know, if I have a need to fit this information into a vertical area versus a horizontal area, the rotate command allows me to do that. Control A, rotate, left click base point, -90, and I'm back. Okay, so rotate is something that will help you take an asymmetrical object like our door and make it fit into any angle it needs to fit into. Well, the door is asymmetrical, but not all doors will want to open from the left and be hinged on the, vice versa, open from the right and be hinged on the left. So you can use your mirror command. The mirror command is our next modify command, and I'll mirror this door. I'll mirror the first door so I make a double door, right? So if I left click this door, I have ortho on. A lot of times when I mirror, I like to have ortho on so I get a nice straight transition, you know, right, nice vertical transition. I left click the door, left click mirror. Command prompt says specify first point of mirror line. I'll left click the end of the arc, left click. As I move up the screen, I'll be left clicking the second point of mirror line. I can move down. If I'm moving vertically, I'm getting like a horizontal result. Left click. If I go right or left, I get a vertical result. I'm mirroring up and down. So I want to go up or down. Left click, erase source objects. If I say yes, it'll take away the first door. So I'm going to say no. I want to keep both doors. Or if I want these doors to open down screen, I can select them both. Left click mirror, left click first point of mirror line using the same point, but this time I'm going to the right. Left click second point of mirror line, left click erase source objects. Well, this time, yes, I want to erase them. I don't want to have doors back to back sort of banging into each other, so I have to erase the first set. And other times you'll want to erase source object is if you're mirroring in place. Like with this door, I could snap to the end of the arc, and it allowed me to very easily mirror and keep the drawing neat. Well, I've got nothing to snap onto with this door, so I'm going to draw a line from the end point of the arc to the sort of the upper. I don't want that one. I want that, or kind of the hinge point of the door, right there. There it is. All right, so that line spans the width of the door. Now I'll left click the door, left click mirror. I'm going to left click the midpoint of that line, left click, and if I move down or up, I'm mirroring, I'm flipping this thing right over in place. I'll left click second point of mirror line, erase source objects. Well, I don't want two doors crossing like this, so I'll say yes, erase source object, and now I've got my door facing in my new desired direction. I can erase that line. So the mirror command allows you to take a very asymmetrical object and make it fit into any angle, any situation. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the array command. The array command we don't use in this class, but we do use it in the 4-day version of the class. The array command allows us, it's kind of like copy on steroids. If I want to make a couple rows and a couple columns of these 2 yellow squares, I'll start by selecting the 2 yellow squares, and then just left of offset is array. I'll left click array. So the array command is designed to give you an instant result. It probably isn't the result you're looking for. What it's given me is, first of all, I think this is our first introduction to a context-sensitive ribbon tab. The tools that are present on my ribbon are exclusively for array creation. On the columns panel, I can see I have 4 columns, so 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's encroaching on that circle and line that I have there. So I'm going to change the 4 to 2 and press enter. And that bought me a little bit more room. Right now I have 1'7" and 27/32 of room, or inches, between, or what is that, like 19, almost 20 inches of room between these 2 columns, sort of midpoint to midpoint. If I take that down to, say, 15, all right, and I'll update that. So now that kind of pressed them together a little bit more. I put 1'3" between those 2 columns. I'll use 1'3" between the rows too. 1'3". That's almost 2. No, that's fine. That's crazy close, but they're not overlapping yet. So now I'll change my. Let's go 1'5". 1'5", enter. So I'm adjusting the distance between rows, and let's give ourselves, instead of 3 rows, 5 rows, like that. So this is one of the commands that's sort of a associative. In fact, you see the word associative on the ribbon. It allows you to adjust the pattern that you've created based on how many rows do you need, how much room do you have to work with, how many columns do you need, that sort of thing. And I'm just adjusting that those quantities. When I hit escape, that's going to end the command. It takes me out of that ribbon tab. But if I left click on any one of these yellow squares, it brings back the ribbon tab. These things are now all sort of joined together in this thing called an associative array. If I need to edit these independently, if I want them to no longer behave like this one big blocky thing, I can use the explode command to break these things up. All right. For now, I'll just select them, and I'll control arrow key them to the right, to the left, to get them out of the way a little bit. I'll do the same thing with the circle and line. Give myself some more room here. There we go. So that's a rectangular array. In our classroom, we have columns of desks, rows of desks. That's kind of a rectangular array. This command that I'm going to use here is a polar array. I'm going to copy this line around this circle, and it looks like this. I'll left click the line. Right or just left of offset is array, and I want to use the polar array, polar. The command prompt, again, moving the crosshairs into the drawing window so I can see the prompt. Specify center point of array. I'll left click the center of this circle, and again I get an instant result. AutoCAD is giving me 6 items filling 360 degrees. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a full circle, 360. So it allowed me to create sort of like this snowflake pattern almost, or whatever. In our class, we use the array command, the 4-day version. We use the array command to create a set of stairs, semicircular stairs. And there's 16 lines that make up the stairs. So I'll change this 6 to 16, and we're filling half a circle. So instead of 360, I'm going to change the fill angle to 180, and I'll hit enter, and that's the result there. There's more detail required to make these look like stairs, but that's the motions we go through. We use the array, the polar array command to create those, the stair effect. One of the things I do out of habit, just kind of out of fun, if I'm like between classes or between sessions of classes, I'll use the move command to put one of the circles on the midpoint of one of these lines, and then I'll copy I'll use the copy command. I'll copy that circle. I'll turn ortho off so you can see this more clearly. I'm just copying my circle so its center sits on endpoints of these lines, midpoints of these lines, like that. So I've just kind of filled every geometric point on these lines. I've got endpoints and midpoints, and then I'm gonna move this, try to center it a little bit more. I'm just using that nudge command we talked about yesterday, shift and then control arrow key. A little too far. All right, why did I do this? This is kind of a fun little thing. I'm going to select all these circles, all these lines with a selection window, and then I'll use the polar array, left click polar array, using the center of the center circle as my center of the array, and it creates this sort of snowflake pattern. And I'll hit escape. I mean, it's not perfect, but you know, AutoCAD gets used for a lot of very technical applications, fire alarm sprinkler engineering, civil engineering, structural engineering. You can, you know, graphic artists can also use AutoCAD to create, you know, designs that are fun or, you know, maybe decorative or whatever. So that's a little bit of a fun thing I did there with copy and array. Okay, so those are your remaining advanced modify commands. Repeats on any of those, or thanks, Terrence. Repeats on any of the commands. It doesn't matter which ones. Questions, repeats at all. Okay, cool. So Matthew, do you know if you'll be going on to using AutoCAD Civil 3D, or are you just going to be working with AutoCAD? Do you know? Okay. All right. Anyways, I just wondering because I think my manager Marissa, I think knows Channing Blackwell. They've interacted a lot over the years, and she teaches that class. She's very skilled. She's a civil engineer. So, anyways, all right, let's move forward. We talked about our remaining modify commands. We'll kind of press on from there. Coming back into the book. I'm going to zoom out in the book. We've covered the modify commands, the advanced modify commands. We'll move on to, whoops, didn't want to do that. Move on to page 34. And page 34 talks about these measure commands, one of which you've already used. You've used the distance command, or at least I've demonstrated it prior to now. It's just nice to be able to, I like the students to be able to have that measure command as part of their bag of tricks before they get to the point where they're creating the floor plan. And if something doesn't look right, they can sort of double check their work, and we'll kind of do that right now. So I'm going to come into my AutoCAD floor plan, and I'm going to measure a couple different ways so you can see how this can be done. If I select these two lines that are at right angles to each other, hover over the grip that they share, you can see that both of these lines are 1 foot 6 inches long. One is at a 0 degree angle, one is at a 90 degree angle. You know, so when you have line work, you can very easily use your dynamic input to show you how long something is if you select it and hover over the end grip. But if you've got an opening, there's nothing here I can select to let me see how big this opening is. So I'm going to use that distance tool. And this time I'll open up the whole suite. I'll open up the measure suite, and you'll see this distance tool. I'll click on distance, and then I'll use my object snap, and I'll snap to the endpoints of this opening, the outer endpoints. If I go one outer and one inner, it might give me an inaccurate measurement. So I'll go one left click, two left click, 3 feet. That's a 3 foot opening. Distance is a kind of a continuous command, one left click, two left click, because I can keep clicking distance on this little drop down menu. That's a 3 foot opening. Distance, whoops, got the wrong tool there, so I'll just come back up. One left click, two left click, there's distance 3 feet, distance, one left click, two left click, 5 feet. So just measuring these existing openings, making sure they're the right size, what have you, and they all appear to be. So it's always a good idea to double check your work, especially as soon as something doesn't look right. Start checking it out. You think about how I asked you to create this floor plan. I asked you to create a rectangle. Hopefully the rectangle was the right size to start with. Then we're using offset to sort of work towards the center of this space. And if one thing is wrong, there's going to be more than one thing wrong. So as soon as something doesn't look right, just double check your work with your distance tool and assure yourself that you're heading in the right direction. All right, one other tool here that is very frequently used by people both in a site plan role and a floor plan role is area. I'm going to go ahead and left click area, and I'm going to click all four corners of the bedroom area. So I'll go one left click, two left click using my endpoints, three left click. As I'm clicking, this green tinted window is forming to show me where I've clicked. So in case I miss a spot, I can come back and get it, or I can just hit escape and restart. Last corner, left click, I'll hit enter, and then on the command line at my crosshairs I can see area is 35,526.00 square inches, or more digestible maybe for a lot of us is 246.7083 square feet, perimeter of 62 feet 10 inches, and so on. So now I know how many square feet, how big this space is. Even works on irregular shapes like the walk-in closet. I'll go back to area, left click each corner. At the last corner, I'll press enter to total up that space, and I've got now 62.6084 square feet of space. Area, left click these four corners, enter. That is a 8.0729 square foot closet. So you can kind of get an idea that we're not guessing how big things are, we know how big things are. Okay, so those are some of the measure commands. In the 4-day version of the class, we create like a whole floor plan. And in the floor plan, the small shelf, the small closet and the big closet both have shelves. I'll use offset, a 1 foot offset specifically, and I'll offset the back line of the small closet, and I'll offset all, three of these inside lines of the big closet to create the appearance of shelves. All right. In the small closet, I'm done. Those, I don't need to do any more work there. Trim, enter. The big closet, I've got to trim out like so. There we go. Whoops, making a mess. There. So I've done my extends, my trims, whatever. These lines are intended to go on a shelf, or go on the shelf layer, which is actually a mill up, architectural millwork up above the cut plane. Why did I show you this? Because this palette we see on page 35, this can be used to help you change layer assignment for lines that are already created. I'm going to bring up this palette. The graphic on page 34 shows this little arrow on the bottom right corner of the properties panel highlighted for some reason. And the reason it's highlighted is clicking that little arrow launches this palette, or it opens up this palette. So I'll kind of show you that in AutoCAD. All right, so I'll find that little arrow. Here's that little arrow we saw on page 34. I'll left click on that. There's my property palette, and I'll left click this vertical line in what really is a linen closet. And with this line selected, AutoCAD tells me everything it knows about that line, like what color is it. Some of these things are not terribly descriptive, like by layer is not a color. It is in AutoCAD, but in the rest of the world it's not. What that means is the author of this drawing, who is me, created a layer called a wall and then assigned the layer color 113. So whenever an object is drawn, when that layer is current, the object being drawn adopts the color of that layer. So if I really need to know what color that line is, I'll have to observe, okay, that's the layer A wall, open up my layer properties and go A wall 113. That's a little bit of homework to do. But I can also change the color. If I click on or change the layer assignment, I'll change this line from the A wall layer to the A mill up layer. A mill up. There it is. So it's changed color, and I can see it's changed line type too. You can see it dashing under line type. So this allows me to change information about selected objects. And that's one way to do it with your properties palette. I'm going to dismiss it. Once I have that yellow line in play, I can also use on the properties panel the match properties button. This is pretty intuitive because there's other software out there that utilizes a match properties command, if you will. I'll click match properties. The command prompt says to select source object. That's going to be the yellow line in this case. I'll left click the yellow line, and now it says select destination object or objects, and I'll hover over this horizontal line and that vertical line, and I've just matched the properties of those lines. If I zoom in closely enough, I can see that the line is dashed. Finally, one other way is to just select the line. With the line selected, I can open up the layer control window and click on the layer name that I want to move this line to reside upon. So I've got the line selected, I click A mill up, boom, that's the result there. I've added these 4 lines to the A mill up layer. So now they're just presenting themselves differently in the drawing. So anyone reading this drawing would know that there's something different about these 4 lines. Okay, questions on the inquiry commands? They're now called measure commands. Questions on the measure commands or the properties palette or match properties? Questions at all? Nice, okay. So one more thing here, and you saw this earlier on page 34, is the list command is highlighted. I used list earlier today. I'll just use it one more time so you can see it. Say I want to know the area. I'll find a rectangle. I'll create a polyline inside of the big bedroom area. With that polyline selected, if I open up the properties panel and I'll click list, that tells me everything AutoCAD knows about that line. So that line lives on a wall, and that polyline lives on a wall, and so on and so forth. And I can see the square footage is right here, 246.7083 square feet. So that I was a little bit distracted because my computer just made a change. That last video just got done rendering, and it pops up to show the finished product. I just shut it down before it started playing. But so that the list tool is not just for polylines. I can click on this horizontal line, go properties, list, and that just tells me that's a line. And here's the length of it right there, 7 feet 6. So you can get a decent amount of information from your drawing using this list tool. Select objects and click list, and you can learn things: square footage, layer assignment, object data, what have you. Let me delete that. I'm going to get rid of this. There, I've deleted that polyline. I'm going to hit save. I haven't hit save since coming back from lunch. All right, so those are your inquiry commands. If you have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, we'll push forward to get into some new information. I'll bring up the PowerPoint here. And so day 2, part 2, measure commands. We've kind of gone through blocks, text formatting, dimension formatting. So blocks is our next topic. This is one of my favorite topics. Nobody ever asked, like, hey, what's your favorite topic? But that doesn't stop me from telling them. I like blocks. I think a big part of my job before I came to CAD Micro was to insert blocks that supported the type of work that I did. So a lot of the blocks that I used were fire alarm blocks, or sometimes electrical blocks and that kind of thing. Really, in our example, we're going to insert the window drawing into our current drawing residential, we'll insert the door drawing in here. And whenever you insert one drawing into another drawing, the drawing being inserted is considered a block, or technically a block reference, but very few people use the term block reference. It's usually just block. So this will happen in one of two places. I'll show you both places it happens. One of the places is on the Insert tab of the ribbon on the block panel using the Insert button. When we click Insert on the block panel on the Insert tab, the Insert dialog box will appear. Let me kind of show you this in context. So I've been working on, pardon me, walls, and so have you. And with the exception of these shelf lines, everything that I've been working on has been a wall on the A wall layer, ironically enough. So now I'm going to start inserting windows, and I'm going to change layers. Now this is kind of like code almost, but the window layer is A glaze, architectural glazing layer. I mentioned that glazing is a category of building material, so that category of building material lent part of its name to this layer name. I'm going to left click on the name A glaze, and that has changed what layer is current. So if I try drawing walls now, I'll be drawing walls on the A glaze layer. However, the current layer doesn't automatically affect the assignment of lines when you use offset. If I click offset and I want to create like a bench, I'll go 12, enter. I'll left click this line, say it's a bench, I'll move right and left click. The current layer doesn't necessarily affect lines created by offset. Usually when you offset, you're going to offset from a source layer onto that same source layer. Did I create an ifern layer? I didn't. I'm going to leave that bench on the A wall layer just for the hell of it. It's not a big deal. So I've changed layers to A glaze, and then I'm going to go to the Insert tab of the ribbon in the block panel. Okay, second tab from the left is Insert. I'll left click Insert, and then the first panel we see is block, and I'll click Insert on that panel, left click. So if I had just one block in my drawing, I wouldn't have automatically gotten this block, or this Insert dialog box, excuse me. I would have gotten a gallery. So the next time I click Insert, I'll have one block in my drawing, and you'll see the gallery, the block gallery, instead of the Insert dialog box. When you use this dialog box the first time to insert one drawing into your current drawing, the Specify on Screen box is checked under insertion point. And I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, you're going to want that checked. You're going to want to specify the location for your block. All right, so I don't have any blocks in this dialog box. I'm going to have to browse for them. I'll click Browse. This takes me to my work folder, and it doesn't always. The first time you use it, it might take you to your My Documents or Documents. So in here, I'll find AutoCAD 2019 Level 1, double click, then find Window. You can single click and then click Open, or double click the blue and yellow icon. If you double click the name, it might think you want to rename the block. So I'm going to double click the blue and yellow icon. All right, so now I've got my window in my little name drop down here, and then it says Insertion Point, Specify on Screen. So I'll hit OK, and that window is stuck to my crosshairs right where 0, 0 was in the original drawing. So I'm going to take this thing to one of my horizontally arranged windows, and I'll find the midpoint and left click. So there's that first window. Now when I click Insert again, Insert, I get a gallery. I'll left click the image, the window image in the gallery. So inserting these windows, the horizontal ones at least, is pretty easy at first. So I'll just kind of left click, and I'm just adding these 4 windows. Boom, like that. So now this horizontal window doesn't help me where the windows are vertical. So I'll click Insert, and instead of clicking Window, I'll click More Options. More Options. Left click More Options. Now I'll click or check Specify on Screen under Rotation. Check. I'll say OK. And now I'll just left click the midpoint of one side of the window opening, left click, and I can left click the midpoint of the other side. It allows me to rotate it into place. Insert, window. I can now start using the gallery again because I've checked on specify on screen for rotation. Insert, missed it, window, left click, and I'll zoom out. And I'll hit save. And thanks, Terrence. I think it's pretty cool too. It's almost like a game, you know. Like if you like video games, and I'm probably too old to like video games, and damn it, I like video games. It's almost like a video game because you know you're trying to. Here's what I found with a lot of people who use AutoCAD. Kinda not as fun, right? But it's kind of like a video game. What I've seen when I was first started doing this back in the 90s, what was one of the good video games? Like Contra was this game where the guy's running through the jungle, he's jumping, he's shooting a machine gun, and that was about the highest quality game they had at the time. They were okay. Well, I would see guys that I worked with, they would put together a drawing. It would take them an hour to put the drawing together. They would see if they could put that same drawing together in 50 minutes the next time. Can I do it in 45 minutes? Can I do it in a half hour? And then just try to get faster and faster, and try to can I do this in 10 right on Nintendo what was NES Nintendo Entertainment System or something like that. They would try, if it took them 5 moves to put this drawing together, try to do it in 3 next time. And so that's I love that game, that and Zelda. But anyways, so there's, just because it's work doesn't mean it can't be fun, so I think it's kind of cool too. And AutoCAD's always been my favorite part of this part of my industry is putting drawings together. So I'm going to save that. It's a good time to hit save. I've put a number of windows in here. Questions at all on anything with AutoCAD, like inserting blocks or I'd love to tell you why they're called blocks, but I don't know that I know that, except that I've heard the term used like, here's my office. You can't really see my office. I've got George Washington and the White House behind me. Somewhere I've got the Declaration of Independence, the Gettysburg Address. I've got a number of things that I like, and then I live in the DC area, so I've got some Redskins gear around here, and I've got a desk, and I've got a chair, and if I wanted to get moved to a different office, I would like them to pick everything up as a block and put, I said it would be me, I have to move my own stuff, but pick everything up as a block and drop it in the next room. And that's kind of where I think the term block comes from in AutoCAD, is that you've got 6 lines that make up your window drawing, and you're just taking it from where it lives and you're just picking it up as a block and you're dropping it in your drawings. Something like that. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole story behind why they call it a block, but ultimately, you saw with the list command, I'm going to right click and I'll go recent input, list. With the list command, AutoCAD tracks everything about everything that it can in the drawing window. AutoCAD calls that line that I just selected, it calls it 26F. Everything in AutoCAD has what's called a handle. AutoCAD's like, okay, 26F is a line on the layer A wall, and it lives at these coordinates, it's at this angle, it's that length. There's almost like an Excel spreadsheet in the back office of AutoCAD. Everything has an entry in that, what's called a handle table. And if I draw these 7 windows, I'll draw these 7 windows that are made up of 6 lines each, 5 lines each, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 42 lines that AutoCAD has to keep track of, versus if I bring in a block, AutoCAD keeps track of 6 blocks or 7 blocks. So it's an efficient thing. It's a pretty efficient thing to use in your drawing. Also, if you're in engineering or architecture, if you're in these industries long enough, the people who look at your drawings, people who look at my drawings, will develop an expectation. That's a window. That's a window. that's a window. If one of my windows looks different, then it has to be different, right? Even if I didn't mean it, if I drew it differently, it's different. And not to me, it's not, but to the person reading my drawing, like, hey, why is this different? Like, oh, I just got lazy. That's not the right answer. It's like, no, they all have to look different. Otherwise, you need to explain to me why they're not. So this block concept allows us to maintain that uniformity and not get question, hey, why does your window look different over here or whatever. So now I'm going to insert some doors. If I'm going too fast, just let me know, like, hey, insert a window again or whatever, just let me know. I've got 1, 2, 3, like 5 doors to insert. So I'm going to switch layers. Here's why yesterday when I did a right click over my layer control window and I added it to the quick access toolbar, because I'm now no longer on my home tab. I'll remove it for now. I'll right click and it'll remove this window from my quick access toolbar. I'll go back home, and again what I did was I did a right click over the layer control window and I added it to the quick access toolbar, because if I'm in a mode to insert blocks, I don't want to go back and forth between tabs. It takes seconds. The first version of the ribbon it took longer, but I'm going to change from the A glaze layer to the A door layer. I'm going to change to A door. That is everyone's favorite layer. I mean, everyone A doors it. I've told that joke for years. No one's ever laughed at it, but I keep trying. So anyways, A door is architectural door, and I'm going to use that layer and I'm going to bring in a different block, right? So if I click insert, I'm getting the block gallery. I'm seeing the window, but I want the door. So I'll click more options. I'm in my insert dialog box. I'll browse, click door, click open, and then I'll click OK. I'll go OK, and I'll take this first door and I'll just kind of left click, right? And it lets me rotate it. I want it to just come just like that. I'll sort of rotate it, left click. There's the first one. The next one is going to be even easier to put in. I'll go insert, door, I'll left click. Let's say I go down here, left click this door, move up and left click. So that door opens out because the closet's too small to let you open it in. I'll put the next door in the same way. Insert, door, left click that inside corner, move up and left click. So there's that door. And then finally I'll add one more door. Insert, door. Doesn't really matter. I always feel like this one in the 4-day version, it opens out. I'm going to make it open in. I'll left click the inside upper corner, left click, and I'll pull straight down, left click. And I'll pause there so you can catch up. I'm going to hit save, save. All right, so as you're jotting down notes, anything underneath that top door? Yeah, so Terrence is there anything underneath the top door? I'm going to use the mirror command to duplicate this door, make a mirrored image of it. Because if I can just do this, I can go insert, door, like that's not right? If I look at that, there may be places, like a restaurant maybe, you might go to a restaurant, in the kitchen, the doors kind of go, back and forth. Boop, 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 boop. They kind of do that. But I don't want that kind of traffic in my bedroom. I don't think I do. So I'm going to use the mirror command to mirror this door. So two kind of vital accessories to mirror. I would say object snap and ortho mode. Right? Looks like this. Left click the door. I'll go back home. Tab. Left click mirror. All right. Command prompt says specify first point of mirror line. I'll left click the end of my door, or the end of the arc of the swing, left click. If I go up and down, this kind of mirrors, up and or side to side. But if I go left to right, there's that mirrored image that I want. So you can kind of experiment with it. I like that. So left to right, it gives me the same result. Up and down, it gives me the same result. But they're different results. Left and right and up and down are different results from each other. So I'm going to get that left and right going. Left click, erase source objects, no. And then I'll double click the mouse wheel and zoom out. So that allowed me to really leverage the power of the software to take an object that didn't exist and make it exist. That's probably a bad way of saying that, but there's no such thing prior to right now in my computer as a door hinged on the right opening from the left. So the mirror command allowed me to create that pretty quickly. And a good time to save. Okay. Questions at all? Questions? I don't know if I've shown you this. Maybe you've already seen it. If I click on a block, the whole thing highlights as a unit. All these blocks will. If I click on a line, the line, one line highlights as a unit. I've got 3 grips on a line. The endpoint grips allow me to stretch the line. The midpoint grip allows me to move the line. These are pretty simple edits. I wouldn't do a lot of these. A block has 1 grip, and that's a good visual cue that you've got a block. If I select this door that looks like it could be a rectangle and an arc, and the whole thing highlights, that's a good clue. It's a block. If I want to not guess, I can bring up the properties palette. That right there is a block reference called door on the layer A door, rotated at 90 degrees, blah, blah, blah. So blocks behave like blocks, like a cinder block. They are big chunky things or whatever. They are a big group of, they don't have to be big, but they're one thing. Clearly I don't have a good grasp. Are the yellow lines for hangers? They could be hangers. These, in fact, these are going to be, their shelves is what they are. So let me find the finished drawing so you can see this. It's going to take me a second to browse out there, but it's worth the drive. AutoCAD, Level 1, 2019, class files, class file for viewing and plotting. This is the 4-day version of the class, the file that we work on, and so far we've drawn the master bedroom. Here's what that line becomes. It's a shelf with a pole under it. So the pole, and you can't see the pole, but you can see the shelf. So yes, the short answer is yes. You would hang your shirts, you'd hang your pants or whatever on those things. In a small closet, it's actually 5 shelves. If you think about in your house, you might have some closet where you keep your towels and your sheets and that sort of thing. That's what that's supposed to be. So it's black and white here, but in model space, it's full color. There's your yellow, there's your green walls and so forth, the yellow windows. Good question. Yeah. Let me go back to that residential drawing. So other questions at all? Cool. All right, I'm going to save this. I'm also going to delete, or not going to delete, I'm going to close some drawings, right? This is one of my favorite things about the file tabs. The file tabs, I saw this first in AutoCAD on the file tabs, but this behavior extends to your internet browsers. I'm going to right click over residential file tab, right click. I can close all other tabs or all other drawings. It'll say, hey, do you want to save these things? I'll say, yeah, save it. Yeah, go ahead, save it. I thought it'd be faster than this. That was pretty slow, but it closed all my other drawings. So if you're using let's say I go to, I've got YouTube open right now. I'm just bringing over Google Chrome, and again, I was looking at my YouTube channel so I could create this playlist that will support this class, and I've got this new tab open. If I right click over the file tab, I can close tabs to the right, other tabs, whatever, close tabs to the right. I have never known that was there. I saw it in AutoCAD first, so that's just kind of cool. It's kind of neat how, other software is influencing the design of other software, which probably shouldn't be surprising. But anyways, questions on inserting blocks, questions at all? So I'm going to check the materials area here for a document that I want you to have. I don't think it's there. Okay, that's good to know. Let me bring up and the document I'm looking for. I'm big on lists. I don't think I've handed out any lists yet today or yesterday. I know I haven't today. Just getting into this class here. And that's not what I want. There we go. I'm just looking for the afternoon test. Day 2 afternoon. Got it. So I'll make sure I hit the what questions are here. But some of the things I've already said, like I was talking about, I've been saving my drawing a lot. And I'm really good in the classroom about saving my drawing. Like I'll hit save every few minutes when I'm in a classroom. I'm not great about doing that when I'm at my desk. Like I'm at my desk, I'm having my video game fun, and I'm creating layers, I'm doing whatever, and I'm not always good about hitting save. AutoCAD does autosave. I did mention that somewhere here. If I hit F2, I may be able to see an autosave. F2 brings up an expanded version of the command window, and it's probably been a long time since I've had to autosave because I've been very cognizant about saving. AutoCAD autosaves, but we still have to save. We need to save that drawing because the autosave is just a precautionary backup file. It creates a backup file for when AutoCAD has a crash or some sort of event that we need to restore data. So we do have to save. And then we talked about some of the commands that some of the modify commands, and I think offset you've used pretty repeatedly. It creates concentric circles, parallel lines, and parallel curves, that kind of thing. Those kind of things might be on the next little quiz, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. So let me get this document up so you can see this. We'll do our next little blurb here. We've been going for about an hour. Getting ready to print with AutoCAD. And this is a weird little, I probably should change the, this document could be called getting your drawing ready to print, getting your AutoCAD drawing ready to print. Because this, if I read this header, I might think I'd have to go through these steps every single time I want to print. This is get your drawing ready to print. We're going to get, we have there's some steps that a lot of offices, one moment, there's a lot of steps that some offices expect us to go through when we print our drawing. The drawing should have a certain look, a border and some text and all that stuff. And so getting this drawing ready to print will provide the border, put the border in there, and help us determine the scale so we can print the drawing out and have text on it and so forth. So let's do a couple steps here, and then we'll take our afternoon break, because I'm starting to lose my voice. I'll get some tea. And part of this, there's 3 things here. We'll do the first, there's 7 steps, we'll do the first 4. And one of them is right in alignment with what we just did. It's inserting a block. The block is a border, but we'll insert that block. So step 1, save the drawing. Step 2, switch from model space to layout space by left-clicking layout 1 or layout 2 tab. So it looks like this. You know, save the drawing. There's never a bad time to save your drawing. Once the drawing is saved, down in the lower left corner of the drawing window, or below the drawing window even, we have these layout tabs. It doesn't matter which one you click on. I have a habit of, working left to right, so I'm going to start with layout 1. Okay, so here's layout 1, layout space, paper space. They're all kind of the same thing. When you switch from model space to layout space the very first time, the window that I can see my drawing through gets created on the current layer. So if I hover over this window, which is called a viewport, it tells me it's on the layer A door. So that just got created. It's showing my drawing perfectly centered, which is fine, but it won't always do that. What will usually happen is AutoCAD will try to show you everything in model space without regard to scale. And it just so happens this is the only thing in my model space, the floor plan. Step 1 is done. Well, step 1 is done. I save my drawing. Step 2, I switch from model space to layout space by left-clicking layout 1 or layout 2 tab. Step 3, I'm going to erase the existing viewport. It says viewports can be stretched to any size, but it's often easier to create a new one, and we'll do this in step 6. So I'm going to erase this viewport, and the illusion will be that I've deleted my drawing. That's not the case. I'll just delete the viewport, and the drawing becomes invisible because it's in model space. Part of the reason we delete the viewport, because you can stretch it, we delete it so we can show you how to make one. They're not hard to make. It's just if you never saw how one's made, it would be a mystery. So I'm going to left click on the viewport, and I'll left click delete on my keyboard or erase on the modify panel, and my drawing is gone, but in model space it's still there. Okay, I'm going to save the drawing. It's a little extreme. You don't have to save quite that much. All right. Step 4, we're going to insert the border, the 11 by 17 CAD title block. It says most title blocks are designed to be inserted in layout space. That's the environment I'm in right now in my AutoCAD, at an insertion point of 0, 0 and a rotation factor of 0. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let's start from the start. When we inserted the doors, we set the A door layer current. We inserted the windows, we put the A glaze layer current. We insert our title block, we'll put the ANOTTLB layer current. So find ANOTTLB, select that layer. That's going to make it the current layer. I mentioned that we're going to make that layer white in model space because it makes it black. Here's what the color looks like where we are. It's black in layout space, a nice bold border. And then a title block is just a block. So if I go back to the Insert tab of the ribbon, block panel, I'll click Insert. Left click Insert. And I don't want the window or the door, I want more options. So left click More Options. Got to browse. There's my 11 by 17 CAD title block. I'll select that and click Open. All right. So it says most title blocks are designed to be inserted in layout space. That's where we are now, layout space, at an insertion point of 0, 0. So I'm going to uncheck Specify on Screen under insertion point. That'll force this to be inserted at 0, 0. And then most title blocks are intended or designed to be inserted into layout space at an insertion point of 0, 0. And a rotation factor of 0. So I'm going to uncheck Specify on Screen under Rotation, and that basically I'm just accepting the default settings or the default values in the Insert dialog box. When I hit OK, I get another dialog box. Now why did that happen? This didn't happen with the window and the door. This particular block has text built into it called attributes. And attributes are text objects that are editable inside of a block. Usually a block can't be edited unless you explode it, but attributes can be edited inside of a block without exploding. So things that you can fill out in your attribute could be your sheet number. I'll fill these out, you don't have to. Sheet number could be something like, for fire protection could be FP, I'll capitalize FP, or for civil could be C, or for architecture could be A, and then I'll go 201, like A201, I'll hit enter. So just enter class or enter project name. I'll call this class file. Enter. Enter address. I'll type in 6361 Walker Lane. That's our address here. Enter. In Alexandria, comma VA. And I'll put the zip in there. 22310. I felt like I botched that. No, that's fine. Enter. Drawing contents. It'll be second. Now I'll say master bedroom. Enter plan. And then I'll leave the rest unedited. Like the scale, like I don't really know the scale yet. The date, I'll add the date later. My initials, blah. I'll just leave that as it is for now. When I'm done, I'll hit OK. All right, and I'll roll the mouse wheel backward to zoom out. And here's what I have. I've got 8.5 by 11 paper with an 11 by 17 border next to it. All right, I'm going to zoom in. And notice like the master bedroom is like jammed up against the border here. I'm going to double click on master bedroom, and I'll just, in the value window, I'll Control X bedroom, Control X, and then I'll click on, or I'll hit enter, and then I'll put me down in the next row, if you will, where it says plan. I'll hit my left arrow and then Control V, space that. I'm just kind of edit this. I'm just kind of trying to get this to fit, and I just deleted the B. So this is like a real-time, you know, when I'm making my edits, it shows up out in the drawing. So these attributes can be pretty flexible. You know, master bedroom was too much text for that line, but bedroom plan is fine. So I just made a quick little edit there. I'll say OK. And I'm going to zoom back out, and we'll stop right there. That'll be a good stopping point for this session. I'm going to hit save, and questions at all on anything we've done so far. Inserting a block, we've kind of done that. That's not that different, except this block has attributes, and I'll show you how to edit them again. We deleted a viewport. Cool, got it so far. So we've deleted stuff before. The viewport is just kind of a different thing. It's got some special properties to it. So we're getting our drawing ready to print or plot, and I'm going to upload this list to the materials area, and it will be in a live, Word document form. If you want to edit it, you certainly can. So we're at step 4. We'll come back and get step 5. So let's call it 10 past 2. We'll take a 15-minute break, and we'll start back at 2:25. If you're stepping away, don't forget to save your drawing. Go save, and I'll bring up the PowerPoint. And where am I? Stop.